Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Eric Payton, and we are doing another scenario today. This is the GPS instrument approach. And we're sitting here somewhere. I'm not sure where right now, but we're going to initialize all that. And we can go to our GPS approach and make sure that partial panel is not checked. And we're going to start out by initializing our position. All right, now it also initialized our weather and a bunch of other variables. Now, when we look at the pre-briefing on that, it brings up the map of the, brings up first the GPS map, up there we go, of the approach plate. You can put anywhere over here. And it also brings up a browser, which we're going to go ahead and look at now. Okay, so this is the website that comes up when you click on the initialize, when you click on the pre-briefing, and it's got a introduction as well as some preparation material, books, and how to interpret approach plates, how to interpret the 430, and understanding how to operate that. And then it goes into the briefing. So mission will begin on the ground at San Luis Obispo, and the engines are going to be running. That's where we're at right now when I hit the initialized position. So steps 1 through 12 of the pre-flight are going to occur at the airport, and then later on, after we do some station stuff of the aircraft and getting it all ready with radios, area here, steps 12 through 18 is going to put you out on a vector to intercept the GPS approach. So we are going to go ahead and start that scenario now. Done the pre-briefing, I think we can go ahead and start the lesson.
In this lesson, you will be asked to fly the San Luis Obispo runway 29 RNAV approach. I will evaluate you on how well you can maintain altitude, horizontal and vertical course. While still on the ground, use the direct-to page to load KSBP as the destination airport.
Okay, so it said basically to the active task is load KSBP as the destination. So I'm gonna put this right about here where I can see it. Let's load, go to the nearest pages, highlight that, and go direct to and enter.
You have entered the destination airport into the flight plan. Now tune the ATIS frequency 120.6 to obtain the weather. I already dialed this into your number 2 radio.
Oh.
But you need to set your audio panel for COM2.
Alright, so there it is, 120.6 already entered into the active for the number 2 radio. So if I just hit COM2 there, turn off COM1, going to bring up the ATIS.
San Luis Co RGNL information Foxtrot. 1900 Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility more than 10. Sky clear, temperature 21, dew point -2. Altimeter 2992. Arriving runway 29, departing runway 29. Advise on initial contact you have Foxtrot. That should be enough time to copy down the ATIS. Now, tune Santa Barbara approach control 127.725 into the active frequency and San Luis Obispo tower 124.00 as the tower standby frequency.
There it is.
I already dialed them into your number 1 radio.
Alright.
Just set your audio. Good. ATC has asked you to squawk transponder code 2475. Go ahead and do that now. Good. Now use the GPS to load the approach with vectors to final. Do not activate the approach. ATC will clear you after we are airborne.
And we're only going to load that, not activate it. That's where it says load.
After you have completed loading the approach, load the situation file to initialize the position of the aircraft in the air.
Okay, when it said load the situation file,
setting
that's
your barometric pressure correctly.
right there. So I'm going to hit that position on approach.
Setting your barometric pressure correctly. You previously informed ATC that you wanted vectors to the final approach course, so listen carefully on the radio for the correct heading to fly. ATC will give you vectors until you become centered or established over the course. Review your pre-landing checklist now. Fly heading 350 degrees. Descend and maintain 2,400 feet until established. Clear for the approach and contact the tower now.
Okay, so basically it told me to contact the approach, so I can switch it over to 124.0. I'm currently at 3,000. I have to descend to 2,400. My heading bug's already set at 350. My squawk code is already set, and it reinitialized me in the air with the autopilot engaged in heading and altitude mode. So what I do need to do is start my descent to 2,400, and I'm going to go ahead and unpause that. But I just first wanted to show you the map to show you that we are in fact, over just to the south, and San Luis Obispo is right there. So we're going to come in here kind of to the north and then intercept the 29 approach. So we can close that up and go ahead and start this. All right, so let's start our descent. So I'm going to press VS on the autopilot, and I'm going to set this for like, I don't know, 600 feet per minute. And I can just leave the power setting where it's at. Now I am going to do this.
ATC has cleared you for the approach. You can now activate vectors to final, switch your radio over to the tower frequency, and begin your descent to 2,400 feet.
So I've just activated vectors to final because he did clear me for the approach. And I'm starting my descent to 2,400 feet. I'm watching that carefully. I am still flying it on the autopilot. And currently I have no evaluators running, but those will kick in here any second. And you can see I'm just here at the top of that cloud layer here.
I am now evaluating you on heading and altitude tracking.
Right
it is
about
your choice to hand fly this approach.
There.
If so, switch to FD mode or disengage the autopilot if a flight director is not available.
Okay, so I'm cruising along here at 2,400, and I just need to intercept the magenta line here. See, here's my flight plan here. I got Halda, and then Cavally is the final approach fix, and then runway 29. Back to that. And just to speed things along here, I'm going to go ahead and hit the speed button, which increases my ground speed. And time I hit it, it goes just a little bit faster. Right there. So I'm currently right out over here. Halda is right there, and so I am just going to be intercepting just outside Halda. Currently on tower, and I have the GPS approach loaded. And I'm coming in at 2400, just for Halda, was actually below the minimum altitude for Halda, but we have been given clearance to land, or to actually descend to 2400. That's what we're going to do. We're getting terrain clearance from the Santa Barbara approach control. There we are coming in. Vectors to final from Halda. The actual final approach fix, which is called the FAF here, is at Kavli. So what's strange about this approach is that normally the final approach fix extends out from the vector for the magenta line extends out from the final approach fix. In this case, it's extending out from Halda, which you can see there. It's extending out from Halda. I'm not sure if that's a nav database error or if that's correct. So now I'm just going to be reviewing my missed approach procedure. I'm going to climb straight ahead to 4000 direct to Crepe. So let me go ahead and put, I got that in my heading bug already. No, I didn't. So as soon as I get into nav mode here, I can set 290 for my heading bug. I have to make sure I've done that before the final approach fix. I've set my flaps before the final approach fix to the first notch, and I've slowed to 100 knots. As soon as I'm on that glide slope, I'm going to start getting evaluated on my airspeed, which is the target is 100, and I'm going to be evaluated on my CDI course needle for horizontal center line and vertical center line, which is this GS here.
You're horizontal. You have just entered the final segment of your approach. The GPS will switch to LNAV plus V approach. With this type of approach, you will receive both horizontal and vertical guidance.
So I'm going to get ready to hit APR here as soon as that thing right about there. Okay, now it's starting the turn to intercept the course.
The CDI needle is now centered, and I will begin evaluating you on how well you can keep it centered.
There it is, centered. And I'm going to set my course, my heading bug to the runway heading, which is 290, because that's what I have to do for my missed approach. Fly straight ahead. Alright, so now glide slope is now centered.
The glide slope signal is now available. Note that the GS flag has disappeared.
Okay, sorry. I was mistaken. Now the glide slope needle is available. As
the glide slope needle is now alive.
There we go.
Begin slowing to 100 knots and set your flaps to the first notch. At the final approach fix, you should be stabilized at 100 knots.
Okay, so I'm looking for 100 knots on the airspeed. Alright, right about there.
The glide slope is now centered and you can begin your descent. I am now evaluating how well you can stay on this glide slope.
Now
You have arrived at the final approach fix.
I've arrived at the final approach fix, and I had to back off my...
If available, remember to set your altitude bug to the missed approach. Remember to set your heading bug with the final approach course. You forgot to set your flaps before the final approach fix.
I forgot to do that. I'm supposed to do that prior to reaching the final approach fix. Very important. It's part of the procedures for doing an instrument approach. Okay, you can see I do have the
Your
LNAV.
autopilot is connected. No bonus points will be rewarded.
Okay, so that's fine. I'm good with that. LNAV plus V, I have that enunciation there. Going a little bit too slow. Bring up the airspeed a little bit. Ooh.
Make only small corrections to your power setting.
Okay,
You are over-controlling the yoke. Make small corrections.
actually, I'm not over controlling the yoke. Letting the autopilot handle it
You
right
are
now.
over-controlling the yoke. Make small corrections.
I think there must be something going on with the autopilot that's...
You are over-controlling the yoke. Make small corrections.
I'm going to go ahead and disengage the autopilot and see if I can fly this one.
The runway should be inside.
Alright, let's move this off to the side.
Bring the airplane to a full stop after landing.
So I can put in another notch of flaps. A little bit of nose up pitch there when that happened. A little bit more power to keep that airspeed up. Pitch down to... I noticed how the glide slope indication evaluator has gone away. So is my airspeed. But I'm still being evaluated on my center line. I'm going to leave that with 60 degrees of flaps. That is. Okay, now I'm on my glide slope. I got red over white. I'm all right. Trimming back here ever so slightly.
Nice job landing.
There we go. I think I might have my my parking brake on. Which is okay, so there we go. Brought up the map just to give you the breadcrumbs of my path. I turn to the left there. Close that down. And it brought up the results of this GPS approach. Like I was right on track with my heading and altitude, my course, my speed was right on track, my glide slope was right on track, but I did have a little bit of problem with the yoke and the power, which I think I might make a little bit less sensitive. So, because I think those inputs were tolerable for this. And there we have it. So that concludes the GPS RNAV approach into San Luis Obispo.